I'm going to talk about both the Circle School and integral theory. I'm often called upon to talk about the Circle School, and there are many folks here who have heard me do that and heard lots of other talk about the Circle School. But I've never had an opportunity to talk about the bigger picture, the bigger theoretical picture. And so I'm going to focus on that as a theme tonight as well. Two strands, and I'm going to go back and forth between the two of them, between integral theory and the Circle School. They're both related to democracy and both related to education, but integral theory is a much broader subject. Integral theory aims to be a theory of everything. A theory of everything, and that's sort of tongue-in-cheek. It's sort of making gentle fun of the physicists who are seeking a theory of everything. And physicists, from an integral perspective, are really seeking a theory that applies to only half the world. We'll talk more about that later. So, first thing I want to do is introduce the Circle School. And we're going to do that with a 4-minute video, if I can make it work.
This is an introduction to the Circle School. To begin, forget everything you know about school. At the Circle School, students manage their own time and pursue their own interests. What students do is limited by the boundaries of imagination and the democratically adopted laws of the school. Different, yes, but also strikingly familiar. Think of the Circle School as a self-governing community of children, teens, and staff adults, comparable to American society, scaled down. The Circle School is based on the same principles that underlie American society and structures, the same values that are increasingly regarded as social bedrock throughout today's world. Values such as these fundamentals: personal freedom, mutual toleration, public government, and free, responsible markets. Today, initiative, creativity, self-motivation, and self-reliance are increasingly valued in our work and personal lives. But today's schools, designed more than a century ago, do not reflect today's world. The Circle School bridges the gap between school and life, allowing students a place to practice being independent, self-responsible persons before moving to the larger world. Circle School students often comment that they are better prepared for college and work, and their professors and employers agree. The Circle School models wholesome American values and systems. Children and teens experience rule of law, free enterprise, civil liberties, and personal responsibilities. They emerge as responsible citizens, well prepared for the daily practice of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Welcome to the Circle School.
Piano was by Circle School students all the time. think I figured out that if I stand approximately here, I'm not going to be blocking anybody with the screen. No, that's not good enough. Let me try back here. How's this? As I said, we're going to switch back and forth between integral theory and the circle school. So the next thing I want to focus on is the culture wars and worldviews. We already talked about the beginnings of integral theory. Every perspective contains truth, and the world includes a multitude of perspectives. It suggests then that we ought to be able to find an element of truth in every perspective, and that's one of the suggestions of integral theory. I call that looking for the pony, which is a reference to a very old joke that I'll tell you in case you don't remember it. Christmas morning, the little girl goes bounding down the stairs to the living room, can't see the Christmas tree because there's a huge pile of horse manure in front of it. Breaks into a big grin, wades in, and starts rummaging around. Her father enters the room, says, "What are you doing?" She says, Daddy, with all this shit, there must be a pony in here somewhere." So, the pony in the manure pile is a suggestion from integral theory. Let's look for the truth in every perspective. And gather the truths of many perspectives. And this is a crucial principle to democracy, to majority rule, and particularly to consensus. And I understand that this group uses consensus to manage its organization. Is that right? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. That's a yes. The idea here is that if each person has a unique perspective, may have an angle on some element of truth that the rest of the group does not, then it's important to gather the truths within the group. Make sense? So, if that's true, then what can we make of the culture wars? The culture wars, which I think now dominate the national political scene, the culture wars in which all the voices are shrill. In many senses, it's exactly the opposite of consensus. It's what I think of as incensus, where everybody gets incensed and yells at each other, and whoever yells the loudest or makes the most outrageous claims, they get on the front page that night, they get the headlines. Incensus. You've heard of anger management. This is really management by anger or government by anger. Another reason you might call it incensus is if you imagine political rallies today, often the crowd wants to be stirred up, wants to be inflamed, wants to be made angry. So you can picture them chanting, "Incense us, incense us, incense us." Like that one better? Okay. Here's a third reason to call it incensus. That is because the loudest practitioners are an awful lot like incense, the stuff hippies burn. They get all lit up and their eyes glow red. They fill the room with their acrid stink. For the most part, they burn out quickly, and in the end, they just make an ash of themselves. So the hallmark of the culture wars is that each perspective is trying to impose itself on everyone. Each perspective is trying to outshout everybody else, and each perspective wants to ignore the other perspectives and have their own perspective dominate. The perspectives I'm talking about in the culture wars are predominantly traditional, modern, and postmodern.